Welcome back to another episode of the 4Q podcast. My name is Sheena Shui, and as always, this podcast is sponsored by Savasana Collective, Holistic Psychology, Social Work and Coaching, and Therapist VA, where we support health professionals start and grow their private practices. Now, today's episode is about how to spot a narcissist and how having a narcissist in your life really impacts your anxiety. So when I say a narcissist, I want to make it clear that most narcissists or people with narcissistic traits aren't going to have a formalized diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. And this is because it's very rare that a narcissist sees their own behavior as an issue enough to go to therapy. They're more the ones who will put it on other people that they need to go to therapy, but they don't go to therapy themselves. And they just tend to put the blame on other people. So how to spot a narcissist. It can be very hard because they are one of the characteristics that I have found with the narcissists in my life, which I had a best friend who was an undercover narcissist, and one of my parents was a narcissist. So I didn't actually know they were narcissists until I really learned more about it and I saw the other side, because the characteristics that I find with the narcissists that have been in my life and have been in my client's life is that they are actually the people who love bomb you, that you actually feel very connected to, because they're hugely charismatic and they just kind of boost your ego. So every narcissist I've had come into my life, whether it's friends or relatives or whatever, absolutely know how to make you feel really, really special, really, really, important, really put you on a pedestal, boost your ego. So they get you on side very, very well. And I've even joked with my friends when I've cut a narcissist out of my life. I said, oh, who's going to boost my ego now? Because it was very much this love bombing kind of situation where they really were all about you, complimentary, giving you a boost, all of that. So that's a big characteristic of compared to someone without those narcissistic traits. They might compliment you, but it doesn't feel over the top, like they're trying to make you feel super special. And then what happens is that it's either they love you and you're so special and they would do anything for you, or they hate you. So if you call them on their behavior, they quickly turn it around and go, well, what about when I did this for you? And this. It's kind of, if you crack their ego, if you crack their shield, if you actually call them on a behavior that they've shown, they're very unhealthy about how they react to it. And so in a healthy person, if you say, hey, when you did that actually, that really hurt my feelings, or I felt like you weren't really listening to me. Don't get me wrong, some people who don't have narcissism will still get defensive, but they might come back to you later and go, oh, actually, look, I was being defensive, but, I can see your point of view and I'm sorry. And, or, an ideal situation would be, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that what I was saying made you feel like that. Even though it wasn't my intention, let me know what I can do better next time, like really sort of owning it. If somebody's in a healthy state of mind, a healthy state, they'll own their behavior. Narcissists will never own it and will make you feel bad about calling them on their behavior. So, oh, you don't know the whole story. You're being sensitive. What about all this stuff I've done for you? You've got no idea. All, like, they very see it as an attack. Like, it's either you're on my side or you're not. And life isn't like that. Like, you're allowed to love someone and be friends with someone, and be able to call them on their behavior. Or even a coworker, you're allowed to have a really good connection with them, but go, hey, look, I need you to just step up a little bit in this, like, this is not working, etc. So a real characteristic of narcissists is this: either they're all on board or they're not. They absolutely love you or they hate you. And you'll see that in others as well, but they are big, bold, charismatic characters. So the tricky and really difficult part sometimes, which really can bring up your anxiety, is that people can't see it. So if you're the first one to break the narcissist's ego, so maybe they've done the turn on you, or maybe you just didn't connect with them from beginning, like a new co-worker in the workplace who you just had this off feeling about them, but everybody else absolutely loved them. And again, a lot of the time they might be good at what they do. So their ego almost is justified in that they are good at what they do sometimes, right? We can cite actors in this, singers, all of that. They need that huge ego to actually go above and beyond what most people would do. Okay, so they take risks that others wouldn't do, and it pays off for them. Okay, they are the risk takers. And so sometimes, whether it's in a workplace or even in a relationship, a friendship, they're so fun to be around. They're so big, they're so bold, and people love that. They gravitate towards that. They have this energy. And so if you're the one that sees it and other people don't, it can be really hard on your own anxiety, because you feel like you're being gaslit. Like, you feel like they're gaslighting everyone. You feel like, am I the only one who sees this? Am I losing my mind? Why can nobody see this? And it can be incredibly difficult to navigate that. So it's almost being aware of that and being able to pick it before it gets to that point that they've singled you out. So if you see somebody really sort of love bombing you and really boosting your ego, it's sort of knowing, okay, like, I really appreciate these compliments, I really appreciate this in you, but sort of feeling the difference between a genuine compliment, a genuine kind of ego boost, a genuine sort of, maybe like a boss boosting you up, versus when is it somebody who's really trying to make you feel special and individualized, so that there's that putting you on on a pedestal, making them get you on board, like on their team. So what happens is, you see the narcissist, they're very charismatic, very egotistical, often high performers, good at what they do, and then you call them on their behavior and they flip, and then you just see this side. Or maybe you'll just be around them and you can see this sort of vindictive side in them. Or maybe you're still on the good side, but you've seen them act really sort of incredibly unjustified towards somebody else, because they take criticism, you pulling them up, as a real attack on them. And here's the other tricky part in dealing with a narcissist: is narcissism actually does come from trauma. And so there can be this thing of, oh, look, they just act like that because they've had a really traumatic upbringing. They've had this happen. They've had that happen. So it can feel like a justification towards the behavior. And don't get me wrong, trauma definitely explains behavior, but it doesn't excuse behavior. So keeping that in mind when you're dealing with a narcissist is that, yes, they've experienced trauma, and it's okay to empathize with that fact, but it doesn't excuse their behavior. And so even the narcissist will sometimes use this to justify, again, the behavior if they're called out on it. Again, not necessarily owning their behavior, sort of deflecting, like, it's your fault, it's this person's fault, it's because this person was mean to me, it's because this person gave me trauma. Never really fully just owning that responsibility in that moment. And don't get me wrong, they don't do this on a conscious level. They're manipulative, yes, But do they think that they're manipulative? Probably not. They don't necessarily consciously do this. This is all unconscious behavior. So again, a lot of narcissists, the reason their narcissism developed is because they had to protect themselves. It was me, myself, and I. I have to support myself because nobody else will. And so that's where it comes from. So just remembering that when you're dealing with them, um, there is that splitting, there is that trauma. And do I believe that people with narcissistic traits can heal? I do. But I think it really takes something big to happen. So for a lot of people, we might have something smaller happen and recognize the need to do some self-reflection, to go back to a therapist if you're not already engaging one, things like that. It doesn't need to be this big spiraling catastrophic event. For a narcissist, I believe that they won't necessarily take that internal look unless something major happens, like they hit rock bottom, they really do lose a job severely, or they have a divorce, or something really big happens where it's almost like their whole world's collapsing, until they really look inward or possibly do some therapeutic work. And it takes their ego breaking. Remember how I said that their whole thing is about maintaining their ego, maintaining who they think they are and what they think they should be, and how the entitled feeling of you should treat me this way, because again, they've probably had trauma, they've probably not been treated how they should have been. So it's a protective mechanism. So if you crack that, it feels to them like their whole world, their whole identity is falling apart, because they go right back to the trauma. So that's why there is such this defense mechanism to keep themselves up, because if they let it go, they're right back to being that vulnerable, not protected person, child. And so there's every defense possible from being vulnerable, because being vulnerable is so scary and so painful and has caused so much pain in their past that they just cannot go back there. So this is why. So just to summarize this and how it affects you, is that it can be really tricky dealing with someone that nobody else can see their toxicity. It can also be tricky because they don't own their behavior, which can be really frustrating on you. And it can also be tricky because you probably genuinely love them and care for them, and you can see the trauma. You can feel, they're genuine in their compliments a lot of the time, even though it is a bit of love bombing. They're not lying about it. I think in their hearts, they genuinely feel like they're trying to connect with you at some level. Sometimes it's manipulative, yes, but I think that there is a genuineness sometimes. And so that can be hard when you feel like this person actually does want to connect with you and care for you, but you can't put up with their behavior just because they do that. So it can be very confusing for you, and all of that can create a lot of anxiety in you, making sense of it and going, did I do the right thing to cut this person out of my life? They were very kind to me, they did all these things for me, but did they do those things for you to look good and to get you on board, or did they do those things for you because they genuinely care about you? Right? Is it serving them? Is it serving you? Because again, sometimes narcissists will do things to make themselves look good to others rather than from a genuine place. So it's hard to tell. So if you're coming across a narcissist, I wish you all the best. It can be really difficult to navigate, but just remember, they want you to engage with them, whether it's good or bad, that love-hate relationship. So if you ignore the behavior, whether it's being love bombed or whether it's being, targeted, and not respond, that's the best thing you can do. You're holding your boundary of, I'm not going to respond to this either way. I'm not going to be manipulated. I'm not playing the game anymore. Because as long as you're interacting with them, whether it's negative or positive, you're still playing their game. Okay? And so it can just be wary, be careful, know that you're not alone in this, and know that it is difficult to navigate a narcissist, but holding your boundaries and cutting them out and knowing that you are going to miss the way that they boost your ego and the fun charismatic side of them. I still miss the fun charismatic side of the narcissist that I have cut out, because it can be a bit boring without them sometimes. They do bring excitement. So just know that you're not alone in that feeling. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to reach out, connect with us, ask us about this. And I guess one final thought before I go that I wanted to mention is that in business, these are the people that praise your business, praise you, praise everything you do to such an umpteenth degree. But these are also the people that go, oh, you didn't reply to me, I'm going to leave you a negative Google review. You didn't do this for me, I'm going to do this. Like, really attack you. So be wary of that. I've seen this happen to businesses, and it's really sad and it's really scary to. It's one thing if you go to a restaurant and go, oh, look, the meal wasn't great, I'm just going to leave it at that. It's another thing if you go, that was terrible, I'm going to leave a bad Google review, I'm going to leave comments on their Facebook, and I'm just going to keep going and going and going until they give me my money back, or something like that. You know, that's kind of the level that you're dealing with a narcissist there. So know that difference. All right. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful week. I'm sorry if you're dealing with the narcissist in your life, but know that you're not alone. We see you, we hear you, we feel you. And if you want to let us know any of your thoughts, reach out. Instagram, Sheena Holistic Therapist. You will find me, savasanacollective.com, hello at Savasana Collective, or of course you can connect with me over at Therapist VA if you are a health professional. All right, you take care. I will see you in the next episode of the 4Q podcast. Bye for now.